Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 94 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to expand our oxygen production to supply our ever-growing base. Enjoy.
The biggest setup is making the oxygen. So we should probably start with the oxygen first. Just because it goes into the other acid types, so it'd be nice just to have that oxygen ready to go and see the setups work when we hook them up. That's a little bit more than 4 pumps, but we can just say that's 4 pumps. That we need 4 pumps going into 22 hydro plants. And it's probably important to have all these pumps on their own pipes, just so they're not fighting with each other and causing any problems with throughput, which, you know, sometimes can happen when you got a lot of stuff going on. And to do that, we probably would need an even number of hydro plants for each item. So that means we'd need to have 24 plants, or 6 for each. So we have 1 pump going into 6 hydro plants. And then let's see about these electrolyzers. Well, since we have 4 setups, and we have 64 electrolyzers, that would mean we would need 16 electrolyzers per 6 hydro plants per 1 water pump. Let's see how big that other setup is. Oh, it's 16. That's actually kind of convenient. It must have there must have been a reason why it was built that way to begin with, because if not, that's super convenient. So a lot of this stuff can probably just be reused. And even I think the belts and the inserters and everything should be all the right size. Let's double check here. Let's see. Yeah, if these inserters are yellow, that is plenty enough. Let's set these to belts. Looks like they're just using yellow belts. Well, there's actually 3 sets of yellow belts there, but they all go into 1 red belt as 1 common belt in the end. Yep. And then you add these 2 together. Means we have 3.6 belts, and we'll have 4, 1 belt for each setup. So that's going to work. And then how many cleaners do we need? Let's see, this says we're going to need 27.5. And this setup only has 5. I wonder if the electrolyzers got upgraded in speed, but this wasn't. So this part's a little outdated. That will need to be upgraded. Because instead of 5, we need to have 7 of them. We're looking pretty good. I was working on a light array for the ore sorters to kind of visually show what's going on, but it wouldn't really work in an easy sort of way with the way the signals were working, so I kind of abandoned that. I mean, it would work, but I wanted the colors to be like red and green for start and stop, and that was a little harder to do. Let's see, what to copy? Well, for now, let's just grab this and then modify it for our uses. Let's see, we're probably going to need to manufacture a bunch of stuff. Got some machines. We'll definitely go into some of this here. We'll go with that for now. So how big is this and where to put it? Well, we're going to need 4 of them. And there's a source of water right there, which can be really convenient. The less the water has to travel, the better. We also need to have the crystallizer somewhere. But those are going to take up a ton of space. It probably won't be appropriate to put it down here. Can we go up here? Not really. This is area we need to reserve in case this expands to the left. So we don't really want to go up above this point. So we could go all the way to the left here. Might help to zoom out. Put them all the way here. But since they're close to the water, it might actually make sense to do it right here. So we'll like just kind of take up this space right here. Probably work out pretty well. Well, we need to modify this pattern. So there's really no problem with just kind of placing it, and then we'll figure out exactly where it goes and where the other ones will go later. So let's kind of drop it. let things happen. Actually, it might be nice to get the crawler, because then we can place the crawler over top of it, and then we'll get a display, on-screen display here, of exactly how many of each item we need to bring along to finish it up. Let's see, we can kind of modify this a little bit. Let's remove the connection for down here, because we'll have one central location for everything, so we can kind of get rid of all of this. And there's this, which probably would be better going upwards, but let's just leave it pointing down for now. Let's get rid of all those things connecting that. Let's get rid of that as well. Let's see, we can replace that with a steel chest, because why not? Okay, I think that's pretty reasonable now. Can we actually make those things right here? Probably should go back to base for them. I think we're going to need a bunch of pipes and whatnot. Plus, the base is actually not that far away anymore. So we need a bunch of electrolyzers, which we need a bunch of steel pipes for. And a power pole would be nice, so there's no flashing icons. We got some more pipes just sitting around. Okay, well, if the setup's going to be like this, then we probably just need to copy some of this stuff down. Looks like they're all spaced one at a time here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we can kind of copy some of this stuff here, but let's see what it looks like. So we probably should copy this one. Might have to change that around a little bit. Let's just move this around. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So that's the up. This is the down, although we might be able to make this a little simpler by splitting off the slag right here, rather than doing it all awkwardly down there at the bottom. So we can just do the slag coming out here. It kind of zigzags its way around. I think that's pretty good. It's a little zigzaggy, but that's kind of how the original setup was. And this kind of buffer chest does need to be here. It's a little awkward, but since it kind of comes straight back down here again, it kind of needs to be there. There are other ways of doing it. Like you can have it swing up through here. I guess it just depends on how much of this do I feel like changing. Well, let's see what we can do with it. Well, if the belt came down, it can kind of go there. Get all our belt items back here. They would kind of go up there. And kind of up here. And then stop right there. So then we can kind of get rid of some of this extra stuff here. So that would change a lot of this zigzag business. Can change this as well. And put a belt in there. Go up until the end. And then this can go down. Then I wonder if this will let us move this up a bit. And kind of make this a little more square looking, because it's kind of not square right now. Let's see, so we have this. highest we can put it up here is like right here. Ah! The light. Let's see here. We would need to have this. Well, it looks like it'll barely fit in here. I'll kind of have to do some zigzags in there, but it looks like it'll work. Yes, just like this. Barely work, but it will. But I mean, actually, it would fit technically right here, it looks like. So let's do that. Bots are very useful. Okay, we can kind of clean this up a bit now. There we go. It's definitely more square than it used to be. So we have our 16 electrolyzers. Oops, looks like there's an extra pipe in there. So we have our 16 electrolyzers and our 7 chemical plants. So let's follow the path here. Electrolyzers get stored in here, and they get sent out. One goes down there, then the other 2 go up, and then the end. And then the output of both slag and electrodes go along here. The slag gets shot out. All the electrodes come back down, all to get washed and put back into the buffer chest. Right here. Okay. I'm pleased with that. Now, one thing to note is that we do need purified water for other setups besides this one. So that's something to keep in mind. So if we want this to be all kind of their own setups, their own block, rather than having all the pipes connected to each other all the time, then let's try to produce just what we need. So we need 2400 purified water, or 600 purified water per setup here. Let's see, we want 600. Okay, so that's exactly 4 hydro plants. And a little bit less than 1 pump. I actually kind of like that. That's a little bit less than 1. So we won't be pegging right on the edge of the limit of what a pump can do. Okay, do we have any extras? Probably not. Well, at least we can make them. So we got our regular water. So let's do this. It might be nice to have a buffer tank in here. So let's put a petrochem tank in here. Let's space it up by 1. Then have a top-up valve on the other side of it. Let's see, put that right there. Probably want to have a buffer tank on this side too. Because these are producing a byproduct of water, it makes sense that the top-up valve would actually be on the other side. But that can disrupt the flow of the pump, as I noticed earlier, if you have a top-up valve right next to the pump. So this might be a situation for 2 tanks. It might be overkill to have these 2 here, but we shall see. So we're going to put up there. So that's the water byproduct from washing the electrodes. Then we'll use something we don't use very often, the non-return valve, or the check valve. What do they call that? That's an inspector valve. So the non-return valve just means that the fluid can only flow in one direction. Now, the reason why it's kind of a weird valve is because all valves do that. The fluid can only flow in one direction on a top-up valve. It can only flow one direction through a pump. Can't go the other way. But this is useful if you don't want any sort of logic connected to it. You just don't want the fluid to flow backwards. So the way I'm looking at this is, this tank here is a buffer tank for the output of these electrode washers. Because they can produce quite a bit of water, it needs to have quite a bit of buffer. And they just buffer in here. And as required, the water will spill over, because there's no logic control, so it just automatically spills over and fills these pipes up here to 100%, or whatever its level is. It won't be 100%, just what its level is at. Actually, a circuit network might be a little more reliable for this. So, no valves. Just put the tank here. So we can use the circuit network to control the offshore pump just to fill up this tank of water whenever it gets too low. And since that'll have to be placed up here somewhere, we won't know where, but let's just put that line of pipes there to mark where it is. And these have no outputs that we need to worry about. There's no inserters. Put that there. Put a light, maybe put this up there and have another light there. And this will have to go somewhere else. And we'll also have to hook up saline water and the mineralized water as well. At least it's kind of convenient where all the outputs are right here. All the byproducts anyway. And then we need to connect all four of these together, but we can worry about that in a bit. And actually, now I think about it, we're going to have four of these sitting next to each other, so going to the right may not be the best thing, because then it's just going to be bumping in right there. Let's see. Well, we can try to connect everything. Let's just connect everything together now. So now that'll connect those gas outputs. And then now while we're down here, we can kind of hook up the mineralized water output, which can kind of go along that line. And there's nothing over here, so we probably can swing this stuff going up. Actually, it can just actually stay where it is. It'll just connect the long way going out here to the next item, wherever it happens to be. Belt's a little more complicated. Actually, if there was more space, we could make this work. How much slag are we going to have? 48. So we would have 2 whole belts of them. Well, if that's the case, perhaps we can just move this up a square. Let's move it 2 squares just to make sure there's no crowding. And then the slag output can go where it needs to. Up there somewhere. And then we'll worry about our tanks to hold the gases later. And we'll have to connect everything back, but I think that's pretty good as far as patterns are concerned. How are we doing with fuel? I think we still got a bit left. Let's see, I'll just leave that space there to show that there's 2 belts. Is this an acceptable place for it? Maybe. I mean, probably. But I do kind of want to make the best use of space now, since things are starting to get a little cramped. Let's update the blueprint here for all of this. It's pretty good. We don't need that power pole. Other than that, I think the setup is mostly good. We will need to hook up the pumps for the water and all of that, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay. Robots assemble. And now we need to figure out where to put all these things. It's actually kind of a decent use of space right there. Kind of squishing it in a bit. And that seems pretty good, really. Let's get the truck out of the way. Something like this. And then we need to do it a couple more times. Oh, unfortunately, that lake is a bit in the way. Actually, that can be kind of landfilled out. Just a little bit. We still need the lake there. But we can clear up a little bit of space here. Yeah, let's leave like 2 spaces between everything. And do we keep going? Or place it up here? Kind of want to keep going. The acid's not going to take up that much space. The acid might fit up there just fine. We'll have to see. I mean, sulfuric won't, but the rest of them might. I'm kind of concerned. This is getting close to the bus, but I don't know if the bus is ever going to make it out that far. It might not. It might be better to have these acids go down instead. Yes, now that I think about that, let's change your mind. Pick everything up. Stop working, robots. We need to have a couple of spaces there for the pump and whatnot. Yes, maybe like right there. We need light. Okay, yeah, it's always weird building it in one orientation and then you have to change directions. Always makes me second guess everything because it looks all weird now. Seems good. And we got trees in the way. And 4. How does that look? Actually looks a lot better as far as fitting in as well as we can. And we have some space in the middle here if we need to, or maybe that's where the acid will be made. Might as well get rid of that little lake. Kind of filling up on landfill here. We're at 69 stacks out of 96. So eventually that's going to fill up. See, the base is pretty stationary. Shouldn't there be, like, stuff getting produced? Kind of curious to why nothing's happening. Oh, I bet I know what it is. I bet we are completely full on copper here. So nothing is moving forward. Could see how we're not producing any iron anymore. What can we do about that? Well, I thought research would take care of that, but it looks like we're still producing a bunch of iron because we're trying to take care of all that nickel. The robots have lots of work in front of them. Let's see if the things we need to build are going to be enough to start the process, or if not, we might have to place that copper somewhere else. I mean, we could just take the copper and place it into the bus up here. It's a temporary place to make it go. Oh, there's no radar right there. Well, it would be right there. Let's see. Let's try a temporary measure here. Just have a little thing going there. And we'll have that when this is, let's see. We actually need a space in here. It's kind of a weird way of doing this, but oh well. Hopefully this is a temporary fix. We'll just say if copper ore is more than 50,000, chuck it in here. And then if it's less than, let's say, 49,000, dump it back in. So hopefully this should allow the process to work again, and if this fills up, well, then I'll just have to pick up all that copper and put it somewhere. Yeah, I think it's us trying to process all of that nickel that is just consuming a ton of iron right now. So even though we are researching, we're still iron heavy, which means we are overproducing on copper. But let's see how that works. In the meantime, I got lots of stuff I can produce. I think I might have found why I'm not consuming any copper, why research seemed to have stopped. Yeah, I forgot to connect this one thing. I was worried about that I really had to move a lot of these undergrounds around to make all these lights fit. Like, clearly, if you want to put lights in here, it should have been done before the bus was built, not after. And I figured, well, I'll find all the ones I missed when things aren't being manufactured like they're supposed to. And looks like we got a missing one right here. There we go. Hopefully this equals copper consumption again. It might have been the ultimate source of why we overloaded on copper. Okay, the bots are mostly done here. Looks like the turrets are doing stuff, but bots got everything taken care of. The setup is mostly intact here. Now we need to connect everything together. We'd rather this probably be going the other direction. The belts were kind of meant to go down here, because they have to make it down to this part before slag gets pulled off. Oh, let's see. But the problem is the slag needs to go, like, right up here. Set that to slag. That can kind of go underground, and then this can go up and down. Now we need to kind of copy it in place here, so let's pick up some belts. And see if we can copy this over. Although when this comes up, this will be one half of a setup, and I believe we're going to need a red belt for this. And we need 2 red belts total. So once we get to here, that's going to have to be upgraded to red. And then this keeps going up. And out. There we go. I think that's most of it. We'll need to start hooking things up to find out.
But that's going to have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.